see a lot of people joining, so we'll just 1 quick minute. At 6:03, we will start.
Buenas tardes, les estamos dando a las personas un tiempo para que entren y ya vamos a empezar. Excuse me, could the host please unmute Rose? Creole interpreter Rose? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We are at 6:03 and we'll start at this time. We'll begin with our amazing translation services mob to give instruction to our people on how to access Spanish and Creole services. Maria?
Thank you so much. First, I want to do a sound check and make sure that Rose's unmuting works. Rose, can you please try unmuting and see if it's working?
She's a co-host.
No. Oh. What about now? Rose?
Okay.
Yay.
No.
Yeah, no, we can hear you. I can hear you right now. Hello? Yes,
right.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, very
Great.
good. Thank you.
Yay.
No, but I also, sorry, quickly, I need to unmute the other line because I have two lines. That's why. When I'm that's why.
But don't worry, we are not turning the interpretation feature yet. Yes. Okay, cool. We'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you so much. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Angélica y hoy estamos proveyendo interpretación con MARB Language Services. Mi colega Flavia y yo interpretaremos en español y mi colega Rose y Lourdes también interpretarán en criollo haitiano. Estamos proveyendo interpretación para asegurarnos de que todos tengamos acceso a la información que se va a compartir el día de hoy y para que estemos elevando la justicia del lenguaje en uno de los aspectos, que es el proveer interpretación en espacios así, para que todas nuestras voces sean escuchadas. Entonces, hoy vamos a proveer interpretación. Bueno, de hecho, voy a dar las instrucciones en español y en inglés conjuntamente. Good afternoon, my name is Maria Angelica, and today my colleague Flavia and myself will be providing interpretation in Spanish with MARB Language Services, and my colleague Rose and Lourdes will be providing Creole interpretation. The goal for providing interpretation today is to ensure that we all have access to the information that will be shared today and to uphold one of the aspects of language justice, which is to provide interpretation so that our voices can be heard in spaces such as this one. So today we will be providing interpretation through Zoom. So if you are connected from your computer, what you will see is in the right-hand corner of your computer, you'll see in a minute, not right now, you'll see a little globe that says interpretation. Please click on it and choose the language of your preference between Spanish, English, and today French for Creole. Instead of Creole, if you want to listen to Creole, please choose French. Zoom had a tech issue. Entonces, hoy vamos a proveer interpretación por medio de Zoom. Si ustedes están conectados desde su computador, van a ver en unos minutos en la pantalla, en la parte de derecha, en la esquina, un globito que dice interpretación. Cuando ustedes hacen clic ese globo, pueden elegir el idioma que prefieran, español, inglés, y eligen francés si quieren escuchar criollo haitiano. Zoom hoy tuvo un problema técnico y el criollo haitiano no aparece, pero el francés va a ser criollo haitiano. If you are connected from your phone, the bottom right-hand corner, there are 3 little dots that say more. If you touch those dots, you will see language interpretation. You can choose your language and then press done. Si están conectados desde su teléfono, van a ver en esquina a mano derecha de abajo, 3 punticos que dice más. Ahí pueden elegir interpretación de idiomas y presionan hecho cuando hayan elegido su idioma preferido. Muchas gracias y le recordamos a las personas que van a hablar que por favor hablen despacio ya que estamos interpretando en 2 idiomas simultáneamente. Gracias. So thank you very much, folks. And please remember for the speakers that we are interpreting in two different languages simultaneously. So please remember to pace yourselves. And now I will pass the mic to my amazing colleague, Rose. Oh, not just yet. The instructions haven't been offered in. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Rose.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Non, moi c'est Rose Nicholson et moi là, je dis avec collègue moi yo, Lourdes, qui pourrait l'interpréter en créole ensemble avec moi et puis tout avec Marianne Helika et Flavia qui pourrait l'interpréter en espagnol. Je dis en raison qui fait que n'a pas interprétation, c'est pour que tout le monde capable de comprendre dans la langue qui est plus confortable avec lui parce que l'information est importante pour nous capable partager et que pour tout le monde capable de sentir à l'aise pour gagner même information non et but pour nous gagner justice pour langue. Et donc, dans quelques minutes, nous pourrons mettre interprétation sous pied. Et donc, les gens qui a utilisé téléphone, nous pourrons voir en bas écran 3 petits points. Nous allons cliquer sur 3 petits points pour nous choisir langue française, French, parce que créole n'est pas disponible pour nous là dans Zoom. Donc, nous avons choisi French. Quand on finit de choisir French, nous allons regarder en haut écran, nous allons cliquer sur Done. Terminé, ça veut dire que pour nous capables activer interprétation. Si nous pas cliquer sur Done, nous pas attendre interprétation. Et donc, là, nous pourrons, si que nous pourrons utiliser toute information, pour nous prendre information, nous ne pas participer sous ordinateur, nous regardé en bas écran, nous avons 3 petits points qui dit More ou plus. Nous devons aller sous lui pour nous voir et un petit globe ou bien tout nous devons voir globe blanc pour nous capables choisir la langue que nous pipito. Encore, nous avons choisi French, français. Nous demandons que si que pour nous participer, restez que nous sous mute et puis tout, si toutefois que nous t'aimons poser questions ou bien gagnons information que nous t'a partagé, mettez-les dans le chat là. Si nous avons un problème, mettez-les dans le chat là pour que nous soyons capables d'aider nous. Et donc, là, nous pourrons commencer. Nous souhaitons une bonne participation. Merci. Et je passe le micro à Nick.
Okay, so we can now turn the interpretation feature on. Got it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Maria. And I'll try to pace myself, Maria, as you instructed. My name is Afifa. I am Director Program with SEIU, Florida Public Services Union, on behalf of 25,000 members that we represent. Thank you all for joining this important campaign and the launch of this very critical campaign that's, and we are calling it the People's Budget, right? And why is this People's Budget? Because Floridians are sick and tired of every single time we have legislative session or any kind of budget difficulties that the budget is balanced at the back of middle class while giving billions of dollars in tax breaks to big corporations. Sorry about that, I will slow down. So this People's Budget campaign is basically to ensure that the voices of everyday Floridians is reflected in the budget. And today we have my sister, Representative Ana Viescamani, who will be the MC or facilitator of this session. Ana is born and raised in Orlando. We all know Representative Ana Escamani is the daughter of working class immigrants elected to serve District 47 in the Florida House in 2018 and by an even larger margin in 2020. Authentic, vocal, and effective. She's a champion for LGBTQ equality, the environmental, affordable housing, and public education. During the COVID-19 pandemic, she has been a bold voice for thousands of Floridians struggling to receive unemployment benefits, healthcare, and small business relief. Now, I'll give the floor to my sister, Ana Viescamani.
Thank you so much, Afifa. Hello, everyone. Hello to our workers. Hello to our accomplices. It is an honor to be here with you all today. Again, my name is Anna Escamani. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am proud to serve District 47 in the Florida legislature. For those who do not know, that includes downtown Orlando, Winter Park, Belle Isle, and Edgewood. I am proud to be the daughter of working people who came to this country in search of the American dream. And yet, no matter how hard we work, how many bootstraps we lift, how many tears we cry and hours we sweat, we still just can't make it in a state like Florida. And so I'm really honored to help kick off this campaign with SEIU and others, the People's Budget. And it couldn't come at a worse time, but to some degree a better time, because now is when we have to center the conversation on everyday people more than ever. Through no fault of their own, a struggling economy, disappearing unemployment benefits, looming evictions and utility shutoffs, and bankruptcy are all on the horizon for thousands of people here in Florida. But far too many of my colleagues in the Florida legislature, along with Governor Ron DeSantis, are not interested in addressing these challenges that we face. Instead, they are pursuing shielding themselves from corporate liability and pushing forward an online sales tax while ignoring corporate taxes and the loopholes that corporations use to avoid paying for their fair share. They don't even want to acknowledge the cracks in our foundation that allowed us to get to where we are today, a system that was designed to fail, a system that allows Florida's richest people to get richer while working people suffer. Yet in this crisis, as Afifa said, we have the opportunity to build an economy that works for all. And it truly does start with our state budget. Florida releases a statement of values every time we pass a budget. And for decades, that statement has told working people that corporate giveaways and partisanship mean more than your health and well-being. Today, we face a $2 billion budget deficit due to the COVID-19 pandemic, alongside a major healthcare crisis and major unemployment, with benefits that have run dry. And if it wasn't for the federal government, we would be in an even worse situation today. Instead of looking for new revenue options and closing corporate tax loopholes, we've seen the GOP majority instead talk about making budget cuts, cutting education, cutting healthcare, threatening our local schools if they don't reopen to the standard established by the governor, making things up about COVID-19. And for all those who are watching today, I would love for you to put in the chat, what are just some of the ways this pandemic has impacted you? Let us know where you're visiting us from. Let us know what's on your mind. What do you want to see in a people's budget? I'll tell you what I want to see. And you're going to hear a lot from workers today, from directly impacted people, small businesses, that they don't want to see cuts to the programs that we rely on. We want to see investments, not austerity. And we don't want to see protections that shield corporations. We want to see protections for our workers. And we need to ensure that the state of Florida doesn't keep refunding the state's biggest corporations with tax credits and tax refunds, but instead focuses on investing in our small businesses and ensuring that every person truly has the opportunity to reach their fullest potential. We need to put people first, and the budget is where we're going to start. And I'm really excited to bring to the virtual stage a collection of powerful speakers that are across the Sunshine State. And so please join me in first welcoming Cricket Logan, who is a maintenance mechanic at a sewage treatment plant in the city of St. Petersburg. He is also proudly the Vice President of Operations for SEIU Florida Public Services Union, a member of the Executive Board, and a Chief Steward representing more than 2,000 of his coworkers in daily struggles. So please join me in welcoming Cricket Logan to our virtual stage.
Hi, everyone. As was said, I'm used to, we don't have a lot of visitors in the sewer treatment plant, so I talk to myself mostly. I'm not much of a public speaker. SEIU, we're sort of an odd duck, I mean, we're a union made of people that the other unions didn't want. We're our our uh, our professions were not considered union. Something that was worth it to have a union. We were the people off to the side, and from our very start, that's who we were. We organized together to get to where we are now. In St. Pete, I am so proud to be a part of the union in St. Pete. We're the first union in the state was here. It was sanitation workers. We came out of the 1968 sanitation strike, and that wasn't that 3-year fight of striking and marching and being arrested and intimidated and fighting back. That wasn't just a campaign for better working conditions and better wages. It was for the entire community. I mean, it was that strike that broke the back of Jim Crow in St. Petersburg. It was something really huge, and that's kind of where we start from in all of our decisions and all of our discussions, is remembering that our union wasn't formed just by striking workers. It was formed by the whole community coming out and fighting for those guys to have better jobs and better pay. It was just, well, I guess, as Kurt Vonnegut said, I get kind of unstuck in time. A long time ago, in 2012, we were faced with this same thing, with our elected leaders frothing at the mouth, excited about austerity, all the things that they were going to cut out of our budget, and layoffs were coming. And what we did was we got together, the union members, and we did a little math, and we took a look at the budget, and we went out in the neighborhoods and just started talking to our neighbors and asking them how they were doing, how their families were, how they were feeling during this time. And we got a lot of questions from them, and we put those into a survey and put it out that the thousands of our neighbors filled out and sent back to us. And we decided to bring all of those people from our community into our bargaining. We have a little bit of power, and that is to sit down at the table and negotiate. And when it came time to do that, we brought a plus one. That was our community. We asked them what we could do, and what came out of that was just absolutely amazing. I mean, what people brought to us was they wanted their community centers to be open longer, to be better staffed, to have things more sort of more childcare in the morning, more things for seniors in the afternoon. They fought for their libraries like it was a member of their family, and we took all those things and we brought them to the table. We added that as part of our negotiating for our contract. One of my favorite things that came out of that was this sort of local movement where everybody wanted to take down all of their barricade fencing and put up little fences because they thought that St. Pete would be a better place if you could talk to your neighbor. Those people showed up at all of the mayor and city council's budget hearings, and they let they informed the mayor and the city council of what they wanted. And amazingly enough, I mean, I was surprised. They went in and they said they would rather pay a little bit higher taxes and maintain the city services that they were used to than to deal with those cuts. They didn't need tax cuts. They were willing to pay, and I don't remember what it was, 75 cents a person, something ridiculously low, would save hundreds of jobs. People can enjoy the parks that they drive by every day. I mean, everybody appreciates flushing a toilet. Not everybody thinks about what it takes to make that happen. Those people who showed up there really did. And I'll tell you what real power is. Real power is having a 90-year-old little old lady show up at a budget hearing who she doesn't know any of us. And she got up and turned around. Hold on. It still makes me crazy.
You got this, Greg. You got this.
She turned her back on city council, and she thanked those workers. And to see a bunch of grown men like me, get weepy. Nobody ever says thank you. We don't really exist, you know. And then she turned around and she shamed the council and the mayor for being cheap and not caring about their community and not caring about the workers. And we ended up, not only did people vote for the first time in 50 years to raise their taxes, we unseated a mayor for the first time in the city's history. We unseated what do you call it? The mayor who's already there. He wasn't there anymore. And somebody who was willing to talk to us and work with us came in. And that was huge. And those community relationships are still really powerful for us every day. And it gives our members tons of opportunities they wouldn't normally have to go out and help out in the community with different organizations to do things that most of us wouldn't even know were there. And it gives our community somewhere to go with their concerns. They can go up to any union member and say, hey, can I talk to you about what you guys are doing? That was probably the thing maybe that'll have what I want put on my, on my gravestone. That's the thing I'm really proud of that I've been able to do during my lifetime, was be a part of the people's budget, where we decided what we wanted. We're all the experts about what our community needs. We're all the absolute experts about what our neighborhood needs and what our neighbors need. And for us to be able to come together and communicate that to our elected officials, somehow we elect them and then they are just supposed to automatically know. And the truth is, if we don't have a voice, then they're just making wild guesses. And this being able to come together and speak with one voice and really make some decisions really informs those people who are in power. It informs them of where the real power is, which is with us. Thank you for asking me to talk.
No, Cricket, I think I speak for everyone here and for Floridians across the state. Thank you. And we do care about you, and we're fighting right alongside you. And you inspire us to have the courage to challenge the status quo. And I so want to honor the story you shared of the little old lady in St. Petersburg fighting for workers, and that's Florida. That is our Florida.
Yeah.
That is the foundation of the people's budget. And I just want to stress that you got a lot of love in the chat right now. So check that out and just feel the love and support. You are running our cities, you are running our state, and you deserve much better than what you have been given. And it just reminds me of the strength of our unions. And obviously we are among solidarity tonight, but it makes me think about our Teamsters over in the Bronx at Hunts Point Produce Market. And I don't know about y'all, but I was watching that happen online, and it was just incredible to see Teamsters supporting other Teamsters. And that's what we got to do in Florida. We got to stand with each other and have each other's back. And so I hope you know that, Cricket, that we got your back. So thank you. Thanks so much for sharing, being part of this, a part of people's budget. Solidarity. All right, y'all. We got so many incredible stories for you tonight. And I so appreciate the feedback in the chat too around, what do we want to spend our money on, right? And I'm seeing folks say small businesses, rent relief. We want benefits. We want to make sure that teachers are paid. I'm seeing a lot of educators in the space tonight, especially from our state colleges and our public schools. And so mad respect. Thanks for being here and emphasizing the importance of parts of our budget. And we will be hearing from one of our adjunct teachers very soon. But first, I want to introduce to you Sophia Coley, who is a dedicated caregiver as a certified nursing assistant in Titusville, Florida, over in Brevard County. She serves as an executive board member of 1199 SEIU United Healthcare Workers, East Florida, as well as the union delegate and 1199 SEIU member, political organizer. We all know her because she has testified before the Florida legislature on elder care issues and has served on numerous panels and task forces to promote improved care, funding, and conditions with various Florida and national elected officials. I just want to give a shout out to all of our CNAs. I have picketed with you. We were out dropping off signatures for workers' rights during the pandemic. you are the epitome of essential for essential workers. And so thanks so much for being here, Sophia.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. And thanks to SEIU for giving us the opportunity also as CNAs to use our voice, to be advocates. And funding. We need funding in our facility. We don't need to be underfunded. We need abundance of money. We need a lot of money, especially in a nursing home, because I work in a nursing home. And lack of funding will cause us to not have enough staff. Not enough staff, and if we don't have enough staff in the facility, it can we can have a lot of things go wrong, neglect and unsafe working environment. So we need funding. We need funding in order for us to have the proper equipments to work with, to keep ourselves safe. We need funding in our facility. We need funding for affordable wages so that the staff can be paid. We can be paid what we're worth. Funding to provide insurance for us, you know, and also that we can put food on the table, we can feed our family. And one of the most important thing regarding funding, we need funding so that we can have the resources to provide high quality care for our residents. And that's one of the reasons why we as healthcare worker, and also myself as CNA, need to be at the table so that we can use our voices, we can give our opinions, we can talk about what we need, because we are the frontline workers. We are there on the front line, so we know what we need, and that's the reason why we need to be at the table to talk about what we need. Thank you.
Well said, Sophia. Thanks for all that you do. You are putting your life at risk every single day. All of our essential workers are, but especially working within our senior population. You are not only taking care of yourself, but you are taking care of some of our most vulnerable Floridians, and you deserve to be paid for what you are worth. Yes. And you will always have the support of folks here, and thanks for empathizing with others, but also emphasizing for the people's budget that we have to make sure that our CNAs are paid their value and that our healthcare workers are paid their value. So thank you, Sophia, for being.
You're welcome. Thank you too.
All right. I mentioned earlier that we got a lot of incredible feedback in the chat from our educators. And I see folks from my CTA over in Orange County. I see folks from Valencia College, Miami-Dade College, colleges across the state of Florida, Solidarity. We've been seeing a movement of adjuncts unionizing across the state. I have been proud to stand with our Valencia adjunct professors. And with that said, really proud to bring to the virtual stage Mark Rivera, who is an adjunct teacher at Valencia College, also a member of FPSU, currently trying to win a union at his workplace. Mark, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Representative Escamani. Thank you to Cricket and Sophia, who spoke before me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Rivera. I am a member of FPSU, and as Representative Escamani said, I am currently trying to win a union at my workplace with my colleagues at Valencia College in Orlando. So thank you to everyone for being here, to all my union siblings here from across Florida tonight. Corporate tax breaks are the fiscal equivalent of taking money from the rest of us and giving it to corporations. The windfall given to corporations has to be paid for somehow, and it is almost always by us. As the state gives money away to corporations, the public institutions which it funds pay its public employees less and neglect the people who rely on them. As an adjunct teacher at Valencia College trying to win a union, I have felt the effect firsthand of what the absence of corporate accountability and the lack of transparency looks like. Adjunct teachers like me are forced to live on poverty wages while doing the equivalent of full-time work and more. My family is all too often just one paycheck away from disaster. The stress that I feel from grading 100 essays multiple times per semester while staying available for my students whose own lives are often at crisis points and helping them to navigate their classes in the midst of a pandemic can be overwhelming at times. Knowing as a part-time teacher that the efforts that I make from semester to semester do nothing to guarantee my employment next semester, just so that Valencia can keep me part-time, simply because it views me as a cost, this is equally dispiriting. I have colleagues who don't get paid enough to afford healthcare right now during the pandemic, who can't cover their rent and have been forced to live in their cars, who can't put food on their tables. As the parent of a 7-year-old in a public school, I've watched my son languish at home. Sorry.
You got this. You got
I've
this.
watched my son languish at home, alone and isolated from his friends and teachers, all because certain state officials didn't treat the pandemic as a public health crisis affecting all of us, especially those of us in the precarious majority. They saw it instead as an opportunity to reward those corporations powerful enough to drown out the cries of everyone else. After all, we see time and again that a corporation suddenly needs government just like the rest of us when it is down to its last billion. Accountability is the way we ensure that our values are being fulfilled. It is one thing to say, this is what we value, but if state government turns its head away and stops caring whether it is governing according to our values, then those values become meaningless. Meanwhile, my coworkers and I, my child and his classmates and their families are paying for the consequences stemming directly from the absence of corporate accountability and the lack of transparency. We are paying for it out of our threadbare pockets and all too often with our lives. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mark. Your solidarity. It reminds me how the system will not dismantle itself. And we are seeing in the chat so much support for you, but also I saw Broward College in the space, Palm Beach County, Seminole State College is here. And despite these being public institutions that are foundational in creating new jobs and helping Floridians learn and grow and enter the workforce and start their families, within these institutions, there are systems of oppression. Within these institutions, there are the haves and the have-nots. And within these institutions are board of trustees that oftentimes come from the corporate interests that we're trying to combat. And so it's internalized, right? And again, the system will not dismantle itself. And I am reminded of very simple proposals that we could pursue, like combined reporting, not to get too into the weeds with folks, but I know we're among folks at Florida Policy Institute who will talk later and dive deeper into this, but combined reporting just as a policy concept would basically allow corporations to stop hiding their income in other states. And you know what happens when you hide your income in other states? You don't pay taxes on it. If I did that, I would be in jail. When a corporation does that, no consequences whatsoever. And these are the loopholes that we're trying to close. And these are the loopholes that create an economic structure that is upside down, that allows corporations to literally get away with murder as they push for corporate liability shields. And it puts you and your son and the people you care about in harm's way, whether it's physically in harm's way or mentally in harm's way. And so just know you are heard. We are here for you. And I'm so proud to support our Valencia adjuncts in getting a damn union. And we are solidarity strong forever. All right, y'all. So we're gonna now for a moment of inspiration. At this point, I don't think Amanda Gorman needs any introductions, but Amanda Gorman is the Youth Poet Laureate that spoke, probably was the highlight. I mean, just, you know, in addition to having a new president, was the highlight of our inauguration. Recently spoke, sharing incredible spoken words at President Joe Biden's inauguration. She has actually created poems in the past specifically to honor workers. And so we're actually going to play one of those poems as a quick little moment inspiration and a break if you need to take a quick little bathroom break or grab a drink. This poem will honor our SEIU members and working people around the world. So I'm going to toss it to our staff to help get this video up and running. And please enjoy, and then we'll be back with more of our incredible speakers. I don't think we hear anything yet. So for Nick, make sure you're sharing that audio too. Not yet.
Hey, Nick, it's Rocky here, if you could hear me. Stop the screen share for a minute and then reshare, and then you'll see a option to share your audio sound, and then you can try again. If not, I just drop the link on the chat and I will share the screen.
Now I'll just read some poetry for everyone. Thanks, Erica. It'll probably be some breakup poetry because that's usually what I read. So,
Rocky, I'm just going to drop in the chat for you.
Awesome, thank you, Nick. Please definitely watch and share, and please spread the gospel of Amanda Gorman. I recently shared one of her incredible poems focused on reproductive rights and abortion access, and so she is on fire. And so please always support our local artists. I think it's important to remember that among us, there are so many versions of Amanda Gorman, and we are so lucky to have talented workers, but also artists in the space. And so we're gonna try one, but no, we're good. Nick, can we keep going?
No, Rocky's got it. We should be good to go.
Nice, thanks, Nick. All right, Rocky, let's we'll try it one more time, y'all. Thanks for your patience.
Gorman.
Perfect.
Hi, SCIU. My name is Amanda Gorman, and I'm the inaugural Youth Poet Laureate of the United States of America. I really wanted to thank you for all you continue to do to serve our families and our communities as we fight for a better, brighter future and justice on all fronts. I wanted to share an original poem that I created for you and our collective journey ahead. It's called When We Work. I hope you like it. When we work, we work.
Mopping floors, polishing walls,
sweeping halls.
We are the janitors who rise and shine before the sun and sleep far after the moon has set.
We are security officers
geared up at airport gates,
the guardians of gilded buildings.
We are educators cheering on the chiming minds of children.
We are the very pulse and heart of hospitals, healthcare, and home care.
Always the first to notice, the first to nurture, the hands always needed.
We are warriors working at the warehouse, legends laboring at the laundry, mechanics making magic.
We've known work
and we've known hurt.
Had grief, gained grit.
We've seen the good,
the bad,
and the ugly.
We've lived through death and sickness,
struggled, hefted our sore hands and heavy hearts,
faced layoffs and furloughs.
And yes, we've known fear too.
Stared into its face and wondered how we could ever press on.
But alongside fear, we've also known that we are a family.
We've known home.
Known that we are far stronger together
than we ever are alone.
At SEIU, we are rooted in our past.
This union founded 100 years ago
by immigrants, janitors.
We stand firmly in the present,
staring down a challenge we've never seen before.
Most importantly, we fight for our future.
One where every family and every worker is healthy and safe.
No matter the color of their skin.
Treated as important no matter their immigration status.
Face no barriers just because of the block they live on.
Batalla no barreras debido al barrio.
Where every service person is seen.
Regardless of sexual orientation.
A future where the next generation have justice.
No matter anyone's gender or job.
We build up this democracy, deliberately dismantling and disrupting structural inequality and racism.
We believe that we will win because we aren't just essential workers. We are essential, period.
We've always been essential to equality, essential to justice.
Each and every one of us a necessary piece of the vision that this world needs.
Because the world is only as strong as its workers.
Today, we call for a reckoning.
We are ready,
resilient, and resolute.
Together, this union has proven that when we work,
we work.
We win.
When we build power,
we don't fall.
Where there's justice for unions,
there's justice for us all.
As we step up to the task, some might ask, but how do we win for our workers?
The same way we always have for 100 years.
Holding up our healthcare heroes.
Supporting our service workers.
Championing childcare employees.
Rallying for racial justice.
Or standing up with security.
Yet again, we rise to respond to this challenge, or a chance to challenge the old and create new change on a scale never seen before.
Imagine
each of us
with fair wages and full lives.
While this pandemic has demonstrated what divides us, it's also uncovered what connects us.
The deepest dedication to the dignity of workers and their families.
We are here to fight.
We are here to stay.
We will not sit still.
We say it plain. This is how we break our chains. 1, fight racial injustice and don't stop until we're done. 2, break barriers large and small and win unions for all. 3, vote our way to victory. 4, empower every worker in this vision we fight for.
We say it plain.
This is how we break our chains.
1,
fight racial injustice,
and we won't stop until we're done.
2,
break barriers large and small,
and win unions for all.
3,
vote our way to victory.
4,
empower every worker in this vision we fight for.
We know the worth of those who work.
Los valores y los triunfos de los trabajadores. Somos valientes e impacientes, sabiendo que caminar con el sindicato es caminar con la gente.
We lend love and labor to our cities.
We, the unsung helpers,
heroes,
and makers of society,
all we demand in return is dignity.
We aren't afraid.
We will not stumble.
We will not skirt.
So, how will we win?
How we've always won.
We get to work.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Nick and Rocky, for figuring out the tech. I'm so glad we got to see that. I don't know about y'all, but when I watch that video, I think about my mom who worked at Kmart and McDonald's before that, before she passed away at a young age when my sister and I were 13. I think about my dad, who was an engineer on the weekdays, but worked at Walt Disney World as a customer service rep on the weekends just to make ends meet. I think about all of us here. I think about the folks that deserve a union and don't have one. And I think about the families that have to navigate a broken unemployment system because we let corporations continue to get their way in dismantling the very safety nets that we rely on, that we pay into, that should be there for us and would be part of a people's budget if we get one. And so with that, to bring us back into the focus of our directly impacted people here in Florida, we have a few more incredible speakers lined up, and I'm really excited to bring the next one to you because they offer not only the perspective of centering on the needs of workers, but they're also a small business owner. And so I'm really proud to introduce our next speaker for the virtual stage. Malika Burgos Flores is a Dominican American activist living in Miami, Florida. She is the founding executive director of the Alapata Collaborative, CDC, a nonprofit organization focused on implementing placemaking techniques to foster identity, support wealth building strategies for marginalized communities of color, and advocating for policies, procedures that support equitable, comprehensive, and sustainable community development. And so please join me in a virtual welcome to Malika.
Hi, thank you so much, Rep. Scamani. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for sharing that beautiful poem and connecting me to all these wonderful people. Um, Good afternoon. Like Rep. Scamani said, my name is Mileka Burgos Flores. I am the executive director of the Alapara Collaborative CDC. We are a nonprofit organization and a place-based initiative that uses the Main Street approach to revitalize commercial corridors as we mitigate climate gentrification pressures in Miami, Florida. Our goal is to protect and strengthen the identity, the charm, and the cultural appeal of our Alapata neighborhood, as well as other ethnic communities in Miami, by ensuring that long-term residents are able to thrive in an environment plagued with disparities, misinformation, and disinvestment. That includes, of course, our small businesses who have been sustaining and investing in our vulnerable communities, many who now face displacement despite decades of sweat equity and community investment. In recent years, we have worked with the community to develop a strategic plan to mitigate the rapid displacement and improve the quality of life of long-term residents and the sustainability of our vulnerable commercial corridors. Our strategies focus on collaboration, education, and coaching to empower individuals, micro businesses, and the community. We provide technical assistance to help small business owners access capital. We meet small businesses where they are and provide them with what they need to thrive. Nationwide, the Main Street program has been crucial on the ground support for local businesses, attracting more than 85 billion in public and private investment and creating over 672 hundreds of net jobs over 150,000 net new businesses. So in short, small businesses, mom and pop shops, the bodega in the corner creates more jobs collectively than big corporations. Yet they don't receive the same attention. Although this conversation is focused on our budget and tax reform, we must acknowledge that the COVID-19 pandemic has stormed in and it continues to affect our everyday lives. Almost a year into this crisis, many businesses have been forced to close. Some are hanging by a thread, while others are doing what they can to survive this new reality. The COVID pandemic came to intensify the socioeconomic problems that were affecting our businesses before the pandemic even started. The pandemic left many issues bare and clearly exposed to emphasize how we're all in this together. For that reason, last year in 2020, we hosted conversations about the impact of COVID-19 on small business owners and their customers, aimed at bridging the intersection of business and social determinants of health. We explore how the effects of COVID have magnified socioeconomic issues that ultimately hurt businesses on several fronts. Yes, you guessed it. Affordable housing hurts small business. Displacement hurts small business. Lack of medical attention, not having Medicare for everyone, not having that, having to depend on a job to have health insurance, it hurts small businesses. We hosted these talks to inform our community, provide resources to small business owners, but also to provide a collective way forward as we continue learning how to mitigate challenges businesses face in this post-19 society, post-COVID-19 society. With all of that, I want to highlight this work that we're doing in Miami, but also the importance of the intersection of where the Florida budget, the tax reform, and the COVID-19 pressures for small businesses converge, especially during these tough times. There are some 2.5 million small businesses in Florida. We are the engine for job growth and economic development in our communities, supporting an estimate half of the state's economy and creating 75% of net new jobs. We create the jobs, mom and pop businesses in your communities, not big corp. We truly believe that the state of Florida can do so much more to support our small businesses, especially those with revenues under $2 million dollars, and further investing in businesses with revenues under $1 million and $500,000. More than two-thirds of all the state spending to support economic development in the private sector goes to large companies, not these small businesses that create 75% of our jobs, despite the fact that those large companies have far more resources than hundreds of thousands of small businesses across the state. In fact, just 10 companies, which I know have been mentioned in this chat, have gotten over 50% of the state's support in the past 20 years. We can do so much better. Large corporations got $543 million in tax refunds during the pandemic, while only $50 million was allocated for loans for hundreds of thousands of struggling small businesses. Less than 1,000 companies actually got access to this lifeline. That is unacceptable. While large organizations and chambers of commerce say they represent the interests of small business, in reality, small businesses are still unheard and overshadowed by the heavy influence, leadership, and resources of larger corporations. The COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the years of disinvestment and unfair tax laws, have had an outsized and profound impact on smaller, locally owned businesses, especially mom and pop micro businesses. This triple crisis and these roadblocks to access capital were a wake-up call for many businesses, and it increased the demand for a fair tax code, more resources for small businesses and community development, and more technical assistance to ensure that these businesses stay resilient. We really hope that we can revamp our tax code, improve micro business support, and ensure community investment is more inclusive, more equitable, and more responsive to small business needs. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, just amazing, amazing. Malika, small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and you just painted the intersectionality of all these issues so beautifully. And it reminds me how during the COVID-19 pandemic, like you said, small businesses in Florida got $50 million in relief from the state of Florida that, by the way, was gone within 24 hours after 38,000 small businesses applied and only 1,000 got anything. And meanwhile, that same year, $500 million went to the state's largest corporations in tax refunds after the state of Florida cut the corporate income tax rate by bringing it to 4.5%, a full percent point down, already low across averages nationally. And so to your point, you've painted the picture so well of how small businesses carry so much of the responsibility for our economic health and well-being, and yet get little economic support, get little small business grants. Entrepreneurs have to work multiple jobs to just be an entrepreneur. And imagine the brain drain that we're creating ourselves by not allowing the brightest minds to actually take risk and pursue innovation because they can't afford it. There are so many tech startups in my district that have to find other means to support themselves because there is no capital for small businesses, because the biggest corporations are the ones that get the local incentives to move their headquarters here, and they move away as soon as the incentive is gone. And I'm not sure if folks know this, but when cities try to appeal to these big corporations to lure the Amazons like into our backyards, they don't even have to disclose the name of the company they're trying to lure. So we don't even know when we see these major incentive programs being crafted, we don't know what companies they are. For all we know, there are companies that don't need the tax breaks. And yet our cities are offering a firstborn child alongside everything else to bring these companies in, many who don't even pay taxes as their normal operations. And so so well said, Malika. And I know I don't have to say this, but I hope everyone here considers running for office one day if you haven't already, because there is some power in this Zoom room, and we need voices like yours in the legislature. And same for Mark and for Cricket and just everyone here. So thank you. And with that said, I'm going to bring on to the virtual stage our next speaker, who is a 20-year-old shift manager at McDonald's. Christian Cardano has worked there for almost 3 years. And last July in 2020, his partner told him that someone at his job tested positive for COVID-19. Christian told his manager, who gave him an ultimatum to either come into work or take 2 weeks without pay. And so please join me in welcoming one of our workers in the trenches, one of our fighters, Christian Cardona.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. So my name is Christian Cardona. Me and my family are originally from Colombia, and we moved to Orlando, Florida in 2019. I have worked at McDonald's for almost 3 years as a shift manager, and I make just $11.15 an hour. My mother is a custodial worker at a bank, and my father is a construction worker. Each of us make less than $12 per hour. We all live together, and even with all three of us working full-time, we often can't afford the basic cost of living, especially during this pandemic. So when my father lost his job in the hotel industry at the beginning of this pandemic, it was really stressful for my family. Like many people, he had to file for unemployment benefits, but it was extremely slow and complicated process because of the overwhelming number of applicants. Fortunately, he eventually found another job after a couple months. I work at McDonald's, where the corporation denies us a voice on the job and the economic and health security we need to survive, especially during this pandemic. I'm working hard for no benefits and without the proper PPE or sick days that we know are critical to combating this virus. To make matters worse, our pay is so low that I'm worrying all the time about how to pay my bills. Instead of helping essential workers like me and my family during this devastating health and economic crisis, Florida's elected leaders have fought against things that would protect working families, like the passage of Amendment 2, the 15 minimum wage initiative. And the Republican-controlled Florida legislature continues to hand out giant checks to big corporations, checks that will total $543 million. Meanwhile, working people, including essential workers, immigrant workers, and workers of color, putting their lives on the line in this pandemic, are struggling day to day. This is public money that could be used to assist people who have lost their jobs, keep the gas on, food on the table, and a roof over their heads during this pandemic. For too long, big corporations have held down workers. while Florida lawmakers stood by and even made it harder for working people to get a foothold in this economy. As a direct consequence of corporations paying workers poverty wages, tens of thousands of frontline workers are enrolled in Medicaid, SNAP, and other social safety net programs that cost taxpayers billions a year. We need to hold elected officials and corporations accountable to the needs of our communities who are struggling to survive. Thank you.
No, thank you, Christian. We are so proud of you. And I saw in the chat, but we got to unionize McDonald's, y'all. And I have been on so many 5 for 15 rallies outside of McDonald's. We stand with you. We got your back. And the fact that your options are so limited and you are just trying to take care of yourself and your family is wrong. It is wrong. And we have to fight to protect our unions, to ensure that the right to work state is no more, and we do what it takes to ensure that you have a voice within your work, but also within government. And so thank you so much, Christian, for being part of this. I'm so proud of you. We're getting near the end of tonight's program, and so next up is someone who is very special to me. I've known this next speaker for a very long time, growing up together in Central Florida. He is now a recently PhD graduate from the University of Central Florida, Dr. Esteban Leonardo Sentis. He is a budget and revenue policy analyst at Florida Policy Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing policies and budgets that improve the economic mobility and quality of life for all Floridians. To date, his research has really focused on advancing equity in administrative practices and budgets, and he has appeared in those peer-reviewed articles, get my nerd glasses on, for journals like Administrative Theory and Practice, Public Administration Quarterly, and Public Integrity. As I pass the mic over to Dr. Sentis, I do want to encourage folks to put in the chat, where do you want to see your money and resources go? We talked about a little bit in the beginning, but as we're collecting your perspectives to integrate into the people's budget, you've heard from a lot of speakers tonight already. Would definitely love to get a perspective on, where do you want to see money go? And with that said, I'll toss it to Dr. Sentis.
Thank you, Rep. Escamani, and really I want to thank everyone for just providing a space to talk about the importance of prioritizing Floridians, people, when it comes to state budget. And I really just want to thank the previous speakers, Cricket, Sophia, Mark, Malika, and Christian, for just sharing your stories. We've heard this before. We've heard this, this 543 million figures. I'll talk about that, but we know policymakers are sounding the budget cuts alarm, and they're sounding it off like this is our only option. And yet, as you heard earlier this year, many of the same policymakers did nothing to stop paying out an income tax refund of $543 million to some of the most profitable corporations in the state. Since the 1980s and 90s, there's been this global trend in state and local government to act as if the public sector, the government, is a business. Advocates of this trend have the same slogans, the same myth. They call for slim, less wasteful, more efficient, more business-like government. And the idea is to make government more competitive, more business-friendly, but as Malika noted, business-friendly if you're a large corporation. And all of this requires slashing corporate income tax rates. And as a result, this is supposed to bring happiness, economic security, and prosperity to everyone. The advocates of this assume that low corporate income tax rates will lead somehow to overwhelming shared prosperity. So year after year after year, millions in corporate income taxes go uncollected in the name of large business friendliness. So it's not shocking that the last time Florida policymakers actually increased the corporate income tax rate was in 1984. In other words, the corporate income tax rate has not increased in 36 years. And meanwhile, it was temporarily decreased, as Rep. Escamani noted, from 2019 until this year. And here, business friendly or large business friendly is not family friendly. Also, and this is something that Mark noted, what is often ignored is the fact that we have to balance the budget by law. So every dollar that policymakers give away or fail to collect in corporate income tax has to come from somewhere. Someone else will have to pay $1 in additional taxes, a family, or a state government contractor, employee, or another recipient of state funds will receive $1 less. Tax cuts are not free and they don't pay for themselves. They never will because they require higher taxes on working people or reduce public services. This means Floridians have to pay for those tax cuts in the form of sales taxes, perhaps, or long lines to receive public services, like waiting to receive unemployment benefits, which we're seeing. We cannot afford statewide budget cuts or reduce public services. Now, even before the pandemic, the state already trailed most of the country in total state and local investment per person. And this is including spending for elementary and secondary education, higher education, and safety net programs. The public goals of economic development, or rather the public sector goals of economic development, should not be corporate wealth or profit, but rather good jobs. And good public services alongside adequate, sufficient funding are needed to create those good jobs. Jobs that pay enough to support a family at a decent standard of living demand public investment in education, health, and services that strengthen and improve the lives of hardworking Floridians. And this is what attracts and retains employers, much more so than being a low-tax state. And we have to ask, why should the state give tax cuts to corporations to create low-paying jobs with no health benefits? True economic well-being is reflected by how much income the average Floridian brings home, and not the number of low-paying jobs available. We need to measure well-being by quality of life and quality of jobs, not the quantity of poor-paying jobs. But again, in 2018, large corporations lobbied to reduce their tax bill at the expense of Floridians. Policymakers passed automatic corporate income tax reductions and refunds. And as a result, these policies cost the state and our communities nearly $1 billion, of which over half went to corporations as a refund. Just to put that figure, because we've heard it a lot, into perspective, the $543 million refund that benefited large corporations during the pandemic would have been enough to send all Floridians who've lost their job due to COVID a check of $1,300. That refund would have been enough to provide nearly 300,000 frontline essential workers with 6 months hazard pay. That refund would have been enough to hire additional staff to address the unprecedented number of unemployment claims. With that money, the state could have hired 10,000 people to help out. Or the money could have been enough to send everyone who lives in poverty in our state enough money to buy a month's worth of food. Moving forward, relying on a strategy of budget cuts while offering the same tax breaks and refunds to manage a revenue shortfall will just cause undue and sustained harm to our families and communities long after the pandemic has ended. Today, a decade after the Great Recession, and I know Crick had mentioned 2012, a decade after the Great Recession, economists agree that budget cuts just lengthened the last crisis and slowed down economic recovery. Budget cuts did not work then, they will not work now. Only significant public investment will allow us to recover from the current moment. Every dollar invested in uplifting workers is a dollar that will enhance the economy and pay dividends for years to come. So we must urge state leaders to implement revenue-raising solutions, to invest in our state's public services, in our communities, our neighborhoods, not only because it's a fair or equitable course of action, but because doing so will be like giving gas to our economic engine. So we have common sense, reasonable, and efficient policies available that will make it so people are paying their fair share. For example, if we return the corporate income tax rate to 5.5% and we move to close corporate tax loopholes, the state could generate $2 billion annually in revenue. We have on screen some of the services that would support. We could use $2 billion to support the K-12 system in the form of more support staff, increase salaries. We could increase salaries for full-time positions in higher ed. We could increase salaries, increase the workforce for healthcare. We have the money. We just have to go and implement these policies. The basis for revenue raising is to increase equity in our upside down tax system so that everyone is paying their fair share, not just everyday Floridians, especially those in the bottom 20 and 40%. There are ways to increase revenue, and we mentioned some. At FPI, we've identified 21 strategies, and this includes closing corporate tax loopholes like through combined reporting, which I know Rep. Escamani mentioned. And this will allow us to increase transparency in how large multi-state and multinational corporations file their taxes. For years, some corporations that do business here in Florida have dodged taxes by booking profits in Florida, made in Florida, to tax havens like the Cayman Islands. And those collect no taxes at all. In fact, 99% of businesses in the state pay no corporate income tax due to these loopholes. If profits are generated in Florida, they should be counted and taxed in Florida and not stored away in a tax haven. So the moment right now calls for innovation, and it calls for asking policymakers why they would choose to make budget cuts instead of using all available options and all possible strategies to raise revenue, help communities, and invest in Floridians. And I just thank you all for giving me an opportunity to share this work with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Santis. Folks are asking for your slides, and I know we'll be sending it out to everyone to make sure this message can be spread across the state. And so thanks so much for being a part of it. Last but not least, I'm really thrilled to bring to the virtual stage one of my newest colleagues in the Florida legislature, Representative Angie Nixon, who is a local of Jacksonville, proudly represents House District 14. Before running for office, Rep. Nixon turned her passion and love for the community into a 10-year career as a community organizer. And throughout her career, she's created place-making events that provided access to healthy food options and food deserts, brought in educational opportunities and training opportunities for small business owners, created family-friendly environments that focused on the overall health and well-being of residents. Please join me in welcoming Representative Angie Nixon.
Hi, thank you for that warm welcome, Representative Escamani. I'm super excited to join you in the State House. Hi, everyone. It is such an honor and a pleasure to join you all tonight. I come from you. I am the daughter of a working class woman, working class people, right? And a working class union member, proud CWA. I'm also a member of the Florida Public Services Union. And I'm just really amped about being able to fight for working class families on the next level. And so, as Representative Escamani stated, I have, for the past 10 years, over 10 years, been working for working class families. And I decided to run because I was simply tired I was simply tired of us just surviving, right? I was ready for us to thrive. It is so upsetting that we have to just survive. It's time for us to thrive. And I actually ran a platform and I was touting it's time for us to flourish. Shout out to the Dream Defenders. I kind of took their line, but it really is time for our communities to flourish. And I'm so upset and outraged after hearing even more so these stories that were shared to us today from Cricket and Sophia, Mark, Malika, as well as Christian. And I don't know if you all know, I did a little bit of homework. So with over 11 million folks across this country that are unemployed, there were 614 people, billionaires, during this pandemic that profited over $931 billion. I want you all to like put that into perspective. 614 people who were already billionaires profited during this pandemic when people died, lost their jobs, lost their homes, got sick, kids failing, unfortunately, in school, right? 614 people profited over $931 billion as of December 1st. So of course we know that number possibly went up, and it may be at $1 trillion right now. And that is appalling and disgusting, ridiculous. And so that's why I plan on, with my colleague, Representative Eskamani, as well as trying to get other representatives and senators to sign on to a letter to the Department of Revenue here in our state, asking, where's this money going? Because this money should be here for the people. It makes absolutely no sense that me and Representative Tracy Davis in Jacksonville, Florida, had to help over 60 families who were displaced because from a hotel that had to get shut down because they thought that those folks over there were doing bad things, but they were displaced, and we had to help them try to find housing. Affordable housing is not a privilege. It shouldn't be a privilege. It should be a right. Quality healthcare should be a right for all, right? Quality education should be a right. And so unfortunately, under this current leadership, it's not. And that's something that we need to push back on. And we need to push back on it with you all collectively. And so y'all, I'm fired up. Like, I'm not only fired up and ready to go and all that stuff. Like, we need to win. Like, when we fight, we win. We know when you all work, you win, right? And so I was, I get on Facebook every now and then, and I saw something, and it really upsets me when folks say, oh, well, the minimum wage, we just recently passed, raising the minimum wage. And so folks are like, well, low-skilled workers. There's no such thing as a low-skilled worker. There is a such thing as low-paying jobs, and that's what's been going on. And low-paying jobs should not exist. Everyone deserves a living wage, and I intend to fight to ensure that we get living wages. I intend to fight, because we know, just like they did with Amendment 4, they're gonna try to push back on what the people want, but no more of that. And so we need you all to walk with us hand in hand when we ask you all to call Governor DeSantis's office this week and demand that his budget is a people's budget. We need you all to do that. And we don't need just you all to do that. We need you all to organize your communities to ensure that they do the same. So I need you all, I'm an organizer, right? And if I didn't make an ask, I would not be organizing. And so Representative Eskamani is going to give you all clearer instructions on what we all need for you all to do this week. Like, again, this is our house. Like, the state capitol is our capital, right? It's ours. And those folks work for us. I'm a former aide to a state representative in District 14. And what I don't understand is why some folks who are elected feel like they're above people. Like, I'm nervous. Like, I have been telling people, I feel like I am, I'm afraid to get fired from this job. I have so much to prove to you all, because a lot of you all worked hard for me to even be elected. But if I don't return your phone calls, if I don't return your emails, y'all need to get rid of me, because y'all need to hold me accountable, because I work for y'all and y'all put me here. And it's time for us to let the rest of Tallahassee know that they work for us and it's not the other way around. And so with that, I'm super excited to be here with you all to help lead this charge with Representative Eskamani. And so that we can, again, we're gonna get our other reps and senators to sign on to this letter demanding transparency, demanding all of this in the absence of corporate accountability. Like, it's time for everybody to be accountable. And so with that, let's go fight, win. And thank you all for having me today.
Bless the good people of Duval for sending Rep. Angie Nixon to Tallahassee. They knew what they were doing, Rep. They knew what they were doing. Amazing. And like Rep. Nixon said, we do have marching orders. We want to be organizers. We want to be here together. If we didn't have action items for ways to help build the people's budget and hold politicians accountable. This Friday, on January 29th, SEIU and all of us here want you to send a message to Governor Ron DeSantis. So you will be getting an email following tonight's event that gives you some messages that you can email, you can tweet, you can call to send to Governor Ron DeSantis. Like Rep. Nixon said, the governor will release his budget. And we basically want to make sure that there's an actual people's budget presented, and that we hold the governor accountable and the legislature accountable to prioritizing you and your needs. Also coming soon is going to be an interactive toolkit that will also help you continue to build local power within your communities. And we'll be sure to include parts of Dr. Santis's presentation as well, because I do think those visuals help, right? Because when we talk about $500 million, I think it is hard for a lot of everyday folks to kind of understand, what does that mean? I think it's hard when we just say corporate giveaways for people to understand what that means. But when you give the examples, right? When you say $500 million can help pay for a direct cash assistance to thousands of people, or it can hire 10,000 people at a DO to process your unemployment payments, that it would help make sure that teachers get a raise, like whatever it is, right? Those visuals do help. And so thank you again to all of our incredible speakers. We have a few more minutes left, and we do want to create space for any questions or feedback that folks might have before we wrap up. And so if you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. I already see some good vibes for Rep. Nixon. Say us when referring to the people, the workers, and the organizers. I echo that. This is not about one elected official. It's about us. Only together can we achieve collective liberation. Only together can we ensure freedom for all and actually build a society where we can thrive, to echo Rep. Nixon. But are there any last questions or thoughts? We'll give it a second in the chat to see. And of course, Afifa, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts that you want to add to, but I just want to say thank you to SEIU for bringing us together tonight. This was a powerful, powerful event. It's incredible to come together, in the face of so many challenges in the Florida legislature. Trust me, it always feels good knowing we're not alone. So whether you're the sewage worker, whether you're at McDonald's, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a CNA, please know that you are not alone. And I see Afifa put some info in the chat as well. Afifa, do you want to add any closing thoughts before we wrap up? I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone.
No, thank you, Rep. Eskamani and everyone. It was amazing. But yes, all of you will be receiving emails from us, constant update. We will keep on reminding you that this is our fight. And Humberto, absolutely. We are in Florida in the state of permanent campaign, right? And we will keep on campaigning till we get rid of all of the elements of evil that we have in Tallahassee right now. But People's Budget hashtag, keep looking for it on your Facebook, also on our websites. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Afifa. Well, y'all, solidarity forever. Keep it up. Thank you to everyone for joining us from across the state of Florida. Hashtag the people's budget. Hold your elected officials accountable. Legislative session starts March 2nd, but we are in Tallahassee for a committee meeting. So watch the Florida channel. Keep tabs on us. And please stay connected. We need each other to get this work done. We work together, we fight together, we will win together. Thanks everyone. Have a beautiful night.